We're going to rejoice and be glad in it. If you want to call into the station to talk to the apostle, the number is 910-640-1220. Again, that's 910-640-1220. Also, we are on Facebook Live at A Biblical Perspective, Apostle John L. Rao. And lastly, if you want to write us to tell us how this program has been a blessing to you, our address is Fill My Cup Ministries, P.O. Box 1201, Lower South Carolina, 29569. Now, here is the Apostle, John L. Rao.
Amen. This is the day that the Lord has made, and great His faithfulness. We are dealing with a crisis that the church needs to know what to do in the crisis. Today, we'll be dealing with 4 subjects that was called in on to understand the signs of the time. That first subject is mourning. Let's just deal with mourning for a moment here. How successfully do you mourn? 1,000 people have died in this crisis. How do you mourn when there's no funerals? How do you mourn when your loved one died? How do you mourn when you can't go to the funeral or you can't close it out like you want to? Is how do you mourn? How do you turn loose something that you held on yesterday? You can call in and ask, add to the subject of how do you mourn. Now, you may have lost a loved one without this virus. So the question is, how did you deal with that mourning? How did you deal with that crisis? How healthy is mourning? When do you turn loose? When do you let it go? When do you add more to it? How does it bless your life going forward without this missing one? So the question is, how do you mourn? Now, we would like for you to call in early. Don't do like last week, call in the last minute, but call in on this subject. Now, the next subject is, will a revival break out after this is over for the church? That's the question. What are we going to do with the church? Is the church is going to lag behind, or is she going to catch up? Because the Bible says that the gates of hell should not prevail against the church. So the church has a mandate. Then the third question is this election. Oh, that's on everybody's mind. What we going to do with this man in the office? November is coming. Do we need to get him out of there? Somebody else in there. What are we going to do with this man that's in the chairs now? Then the fourth question is love. And all these questions, we're going to answer them from an end-time perspective. What the Bible has to say about this subject. That fourth question is love. Somebody called in and asked, why does the Bible says, husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church, but it didn't say it the other way around. It didn't say why love your husbands, but it does, and we will deal with that today. So call in now, and let's get started and put in your input of what you think what God is doing this time. Now, I'll deal with mourning first. If there's 100,000 people that died on this virus, and the world is mourning for the lost ones that they had. Now, heaven deals with this different from the way we deal with it. 100,000 people at one time, that is a lot of people leaving us. But when God looks at it, he looks at the whole picture. What is the whole picture? Did you also know between January this year to now, you had 500,000 people die with alcoholism. So what are you going to do about that? Okay, yes, we got 100,000 here, but what about these over here? So when God looked down on the earth, when he makes this decision, he makes the whole decision on what he sees in mankind. Okay. Then on the other hand, you have 200,000 people who have committed suicide. What you going to do with that? This is from January to now. The whole picture now, when we just focusing on coronavirus, which is nothing wrong with that now. But God is seeing the failure of man, and he's looking at the whole picture when he makes a decision. I want to say that this movement from heaven is the last warning to the world before God get ready to do his next thing. Let me say that again. I said God is a God of time, of eternity, and he steps into time, and he makes a decision based on time after the fullness of time. So if we're celebrating the Passover of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who got up on the third day, we have no other man in history, when he died, he got up. And so that's why I am so glad that I am on the winning side, because he got up. But now if I'm going to mourn, and you know I have personal closeness of a mourning now, you know, this month, 16 years ago, I've lost a son. I lost a son, my only son, 16 years ago this month, where the family had to mourn. Somebody asked me about mourning. They said if the man died because he was an alcoholic versus the man died on coronavirus, that's different. And I asked him, then what's the difference? He said one died because that was his choice, alcohol. The other one died because it was not his choice. But at the end of the day, both of them dead. And at the end of the day, we got to still deal with this loss, the family. So let's look at the mourning that I and my family 16 years ago had to deal with. That when my son, 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, my only son, who died 16 years ago, let me throw this on you, with the AIDS virus. What you gonna say about that? He died with the AIDS virus. I'm down here in Carolina. He's in New York City. I think he was about, how old was he?
32.
32 years old. Now that was his sister speaking, because I guess she's gonna come in a minute and explain how losing her only brother, like you may have lost some people too, how to deal with mourning. So when he died 16 years ago with the AIDS virus, I'm angry now, this man of God who's traveling around the world preaching to every nation, and seeing young folks get saved by the 100,000, and then I come home and my son died with AIDS. So I'm mad with the Lord. I understand now this Passover, because the Lord is saying he had to give his only begotten son. The question is, what is it that you want to give up? And so as I lost that son, I'm angry with God that you got to tell me something. The first thing that we say when we lose something is, why, God? That is not right and is not fair. Call in now and give us your opinion on what you think about mourning and how you dealt or doing with the mourning that you have to deal with every day. Like the whole world, when New York City had to do this mass grave site and push them all in a hole and bury them that way. They dying so fast and so rapidly. What do you do when you lose somebody in the hour as of now? I'll be back and forth now after the morning, after I deal with these other 4 subjects, as I tie those in about end time. And one thing the Lord said to me about my son, he said, I know you brought him up in the way he should go. But for me to allow him to come in after yours, I need to take him out on his decision that he made. No, it's not your decision, and it's not his decision, not God's decision. It was his decision. But because of the love that you had, I took him out because I was told, because I was not there, I was trying to get there, I couldn't get there in time, and he died alone with no family members. And the Lord said, that's how I wanted it. I wanted him to be on his back and look up. And while he was looking up, he can only do what you taught him, is to pray to the God that can save him. And so while there's no family members there, he died, but I was told by those that was in the room, he was talking to the Lord on the way out. And all I'm pleased with is that he made it in. Now the question is, If all these that's dying around the world, are they making it an end? Or they go to that dark place? Because the only way you can make it in is Jesus Christ have to be your Lord. And I thank God that I taught him enough that even on his dying bed, he made it in. Now, after the death, I had to deal with that thing. Took me a little while. He said he died with AIDS. Now, I didn't know my son. I didn't ever know him to be that way. But you never know. So then I had to deal with the LGBT community. You got to deal with that because the church is full of them. What you going to deal with that? And then I didn't know that the son was selling drugs. I don't know why my son's selling drugs. I'm a businessman. I taught him business all the way through. But somehow or another, he got caught up in the cares of this world. So then I had to deal with drugs. I got to deal with AIDS. I got to deal with the gay community because this all ties in. And now what I'm saying to you, that Jesus is still the answer. I don't care whether Jesus is still the answer, but I had to deal with it. So my church is what I decided to do is I'm going to open up a church. And I'm going to open up the church in the worst part of the city. Because I want to deal with that community and that lifestyle and drugs. So, of course, those who online who don't know where I'm at, my church is in Tabor City, North Carolina, in the Greens Acres area where there's nothing but drugs. I like it just like that. Give me the drug dealer. Give me the drug taker. So I started feeding them every Saturday for 7 years for free. Just for free to get them in there, to get some dialogue going. I know them all by name, okay, because I did learn this. God has a remedy in every community. God has a section of people that in these last days, he is going to save. Now, I'll jump off that. I ain't got a call yet. I need you to call in. Give them the number again. Call in so you know what God is saying.